Nandini, we were supposed to upload an episode last week. What happened?
So I said, let's do Sunday.
Yes, you
Then,
did.
then you said, okay, we can do Monday. Then I was like, okay, Monday. But Monday, remember, was so busy at
Of
night.
course
I was
it
working.
was.
So I was like, let's do it Tuesday. And then eventually I was like, let's just do it next week.
Exactly. And that is called Tariq be Tariq.
Ooh,
And
clever.
and listeners, this popular Hindi phrase loosely translates to date after date after date. That's exactly what Nandini did to this episode.
That's really clever, actually. So today we've taken a bit of a detour. And now, this time, we're talking about the world of law and sharp satire. And also, a plus, this series is in a different language. So let's just say I think everything is new this time. Hello, everyone. To everyone new and returning, it's your host Nandini together with Mukta, my mum, and we're here to bring you spoiler free reviews of a lot of series and movies that we've watched so that you can find something worth your time.
So, listeners, let me tell you, for this one, again, as I always say, Nandini forced me to
Why do you say
watch.
that every time? We just people will think
because
I'm so like
because
I don't know.
with these reviews now, you I have started watching genres I never thought I would.
So I've helped you find hidden treasures.
Yeah,
That
of
we
course
can
you have. Of
say.
course you have. All right, I'll credit where credit's due.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what has happened. So overall, whenever she's made me watch anything by force, of course, I've always found it good.
Mm.
But this one, there's the series that we are going to be reviewing today called Mamla Legal Hai on Netflix. And English, it would translate into The Matters Legal.
Yeah, and this is a series that I used to see every time when I was scrolling, but like I never really had the urge to watch. And I'd say it's overall for all Hindi series on Netflix because to be honest, if you remember, I don't think any Hindi series we've watched has actually lived up to the mark.
I cannot agree more, especially on Netflix. I don't know. I mean, that's not me criticizing, but overall, off the top of my head, we remember having watched Fame Game starring
Mm.
Madhuri Dixit, and then we watched Rana Naidu. It had a
Oh, you
really
love
good.
that.
It had a really good star cast, but honestly, very, very underwhelming.
Just like in 30 seconds, we just switched it off,
I
didn't
think,
we?
yeah, it was the first minute or so, and we were like, no, we can't watch
Yeah.
it. And even the most recent one, Mandala Murders, it was really
Oh, that was
underwhelming.
so annoying.
For me, when it said murders, I thought, yeah, wow, my genre again. But honestly, extremely disappointed.
But so that was sort of my mindset as well when I was thinking of Mamla Legal Hai. But then honestly, I was like, you know what? I'm out of ideas. I don't know what to watch. Let's just try episode 1. And this was me trying on my own, not for a review, just it was just about let me watch something because I have nothing else to watch. And I'd say I watched the first 5 minutes. I paused it and I was like, let me wait for my mom to get back from work because this is something we need to watch together.
And you know what? I'll share share something very interesting. And Nandi, I swear to God, would hate me for this. So I returned from office and I opened the door and I saw she was watching this. I was like, oh my God, another one. I tried to
So
tip
mean.
I tried to tiptoe to my room upstairs and then she pulled me in. Of course, she had to. So she forced me to watch it. And honestly, as she rightly said, the first 5 minutes, oh my God, I had the heartiest laughter of my time.
It was like it quickly hooks you from the first 5 minutes. It was honestly
100%.
amazing. So overall, I would say Mamla Legal Hai. It's a new genre for us. It's satire comedy, and I don't think we watch a lot of this.
No, we
Honestly,
don't. No.
and this series, it's a Netflix series, has about 8 episodes with a very manageable duration, which is about 25 to 30 minutes each.
Yeah.
And while it's a Hindi series, thanks to Netflix, you can watch it with English subtitles, but even better with English audio. I mean, we tried part of it with English audio just to see how it sounds. And I think you can enjoy it in English
Equally
audio
funny.
as well.
I would
Yeah.
say equally funny. So, listeners, Mamla Legal Hai, it's as Nandini said, it's a satire which uses humor, it uses a lot of irony, of course, exaggeration sometimes, to suitably and subtly criticize either an individual or individuals or institutions. So, this series in particular mocks the Indian district courts, the lawyers, the overall Indian legal system of how it functions, and Of course, with all its anomalies and absurdities.
Yeah, so Mamla Legal Hai is an Indian legal comedy series, and it's shot in the chaotic Patparganj District Court of Delhi. And this show, overall, it doesn't have a big storyline. It just follows a group of, you could say, witty, quirky lawyers as they tackle, obviously, these absurd, really useless cases, which you realize the system spends so much time on.
But interestingly, all of these, nearly all of them, whatever they show in the series, the cases, they were all real life legal incidents. Honestly, as absurd as they could get, they were all real. They
Which
were true.
shocks you a bit as well, right? It helps
Exactly.
you, it sort of puts you back and it helps you reflect that, wow, this is actually a real case.
Exactly, surprises you, actually shocks you sometimes. and honestly, the series, as Nandini said, does not have an underlying story or a theme that connects in every episode. The only theme that there is that the story revolves around lawyers. Every day happening, the life in the day of a district court for a lawyer, and there's no central story, as we said.
But before we go into those specific cases that really make you question what this legal system fights on, let's talk about the lawyers in this court. Now we'll go one by one. At the center of all of this is advocate V.D. Tyagi, and he, I would say, is played by one of the most refined actors we have, Ravi Kishan. And his character, V.D. Tyagi, he has an ambition to become the president of the Delhi Bar Association. So right now he's the president of the district court, the Patparganj district court, and he has the ambition to really elevate himself and become the president of the Delhi Bar Association.
I like, Nandini, that you've already learned how to pronounce Patparganj properly.
Oh, that
now.
was... It took a while.
It was a tongue twister
And
for
I was
you,
like,
wasn't it?
and I was like, how am I going to be able to say this in the, in the podcast?
So anyway, this advocate V.D. Tyagi, played by Ravi Kishan, he has two interns. One is named Law and the other is named Order. And then there is this guy Mintu, who's Tyagi, V.D. Tyagi's right-hand man, like one of the best friends as well. And he too is incredibly funny.
Oh, definitely. And if we're talking about funny, we also meet advocate Sujata Negi, called our very own Didi. And she's just desperate for the simple luxury of an AC chamber in the court. And what I just loved is she has a very no-nonsense kind of attitude. And personally, I think if after V.D. Tyagi someone was a highlight, it was her for me.
It was her. And let me just tell you, Nandini said Didi, that in English would mean elder sister.
Yeah. And everyone calls her like that. So it's like a way of respect, but also like in a very funny way. You'll find out in the series.
And Sujata, this lawyer, she then becomes an immediate mentor, a quick mentor for another lawyer called Ananya Shroff. Now, she is a Harvard graduate and she's determined to learn and work in this Patparganj district court. She wants to she wants to support the pro bono cases, and she's very idealistic, and she thinks everything in the world around her should be just as what she's read in the course, in the academics at Harvard.
Yeah, and honestly, won't spoil it for you, but very quickly when she comes, she already feels
She learns it.
uncomfortable. And I remember this one scene as well. There is a case that she's fighting for a poor guy who's trying to save his land. And then he says, and then actually that nothing happens for that case. It doesn't get resolved. And to Ananya, this poor man says...
She apologizes to the poor man.
Oh yeah, she apologizes to him. And then he tells her, I mean, I knew how all of this works. I think you didn't know.
Yeah,
You know, so that's really
funny.
telling, yeah. And also, we have the final character, Vishwas Pandey, who openly claims to have a crush on Ananya, this Harvard graduate. And also, funnily enough, he admits she's too out of my league. And what I quite enjoyed was, like, in the first, I guess, 5 minutes of meeting him, he introduces himself to Ananya saying, Ananya, I'm the Donna of this court. And she was like, Donna? And he was like, Donna Paulson from Suits? That's what I am.
So overall, listeners, what we typically mean is everybody in this series has done a brilliant job. Fantastic dialogue delivery, fantastic acting.
Yeah, really refined acting. Like, if you think about V.D. Tyagi, Ravi Kishan's role, he's shown as almost like, how would you say, egoistic, sometimes even manipulative. But I loved, which one was it? Episode 5, I think, where we get to see a lot of his soft and vulnerable side as well
Yeah.
with his father.
With his father.
And I
yeah.
think that was a very unexpectedly touching moment.
It was 100%. But overall, listeners, it's a very simple series, very light-hearted. There's no unnecessary glamour in it. You do not see expensive sets or dresses, and there's no grand show, and there's this huge court proceeding going on. Absolutely not. So the producer-director, they have tried to show you the absurdity of the Indian legal system, but to the extent of keeping it extremely funny. They've tried to be very subtle, and there's no cynicism in this as well.
But now, moving from the characters onto the cases. Like we were saying, each of the episodes in Mamla Legal Hai follows a case at a time. So, Mum, I know you're dying to say this. What are some examples you want to share about cases?
Honestly, I have been holding on to my laughter for a while. So there are two that literally stand out. One was the parrot case, unbelievably true.
Yeah.
So, listeners, just not spoiling it for you. There's a parrot who's brought to the court, and because he exactly accused, because he has violated the dignity of a woman with the use of some vile abusives. Oh my God, it was hilariously funny and shockingly true.
Imagine having a parrot in the witness box and as
As
an
the accused, exactly. And then you have a lawyer defending the case.
Oh,
wow,
God.
brilliant. And then there was this monkey menace where all the lawyers then strike to get a solution to the problem.
And interestingly, in this entire episode, you see that Ananya, that Howard lawyer who comes over to Patpatganj court, she's trying to fight for a poor man about his land case. But then Sujata, our Didi, she says to Ananya, please leave that man and start making posters. This is more important. We need to make posters for the strike. And it just shows you, it's like a really hard reality of our system.
Yeah, but then honestly, yes, there is the entire series is about that. But overall, you spoke about the cases, right? So listeners, while there were unbelievably true cases which were funny to the core, but there were other cases that had a lot of substance in them. They also spoke about serious issues like child marriage, dowry, the rights of women lawyers, or the lack of funds for the jail inmates and their daily maintenance. So there were quite a few themes as well there.
Yeah. And then beside all of these cases, you also have obviously the election for the president of the Delhi Bar Association. So episode 7 finally gives you the answer to that much awaited election results. And also, I think it leaves you on a nice cliffhanger, because I think we immediately were like, oh my God, we need to watch episode 8 to find out what actually happened.
And what an episode 8 was. So listeners, the highlight of the entire series. So it was titled Law versus Justice. And as you watch it, as it unfolds, you will realize at each instance that episode talks of, there is definitely a very thin line drawn between law and justice, but makes you wonder, makes you really think a lot.
Yeah, I mean, interesting one, right? Because when I saw the title, I was like, in my mind, immediately, I was like, law and justice is the same thing. But it just makes you realize that these two are just two sides to the same coin, but they're very, very different.
Very different, absolutely.
And I think episode 8, like apart from Veeri Tyagi, I feel like everyone gets that sort of closure in this episode.
Yes.
Like, to be funny, Law and Order, the interns that Veeri Tyagi had, they get rule and regulation as their new interns. And as Sujata, Didi, who always wanted an AC chamber, she gets it. And okay, I'm not going to spoil the rest.
Please do not. But I will spoil something. And that is, listeners, this series, Mamla Legal Hai, has been renewed for a second season. And this happened within a month of its premiere. It was massively popular.
Yeah, definitely a worth watch. But, just going back to episode 8, and when you mentioned that it's a emotional, touching episode.
Yes.
I was instantly reminded of the series we watched, Court Kacheri.
Oh, yes, we did. We watched it on Sony Liv, listeners.
Yeah.
And just so you know, the Sony Liv platform is available on a paid subscription outside of India as well. So you can easily watch series, movies, and then maybe all those soaps as well, the daily soaps as well. So this series, Court Kacheri, is also a legal drama, listeners. But it has a comedic angle, but extremely different. So you remember when Nandini said that Mamla Legal Hai, it had a very touching, emotional father-son moment between the main character Veeri Tyagi and his father, episode 5? Now, this series, Court Kacheri, just think of this series as an, I would say, a widely explored angle of that father-son relationship.
Very true. Yeah, exactly. So the narrative in Court Kacheri, it centers on Param. And he's a young man who never ever wanted to be a lawyer. But funny enough, he finds himself pulled into this profession due to family legacy. And that is his father. So his father, Harish, he's a very, very respected criminal lawyer. Almost, I would say, a living legend in the District Court of Delhi. And like every parent, I guess, he expects his son to follow in his footsteps.
And that, as you would always believe and agree, creates a deep father-son rift.
Exactly.
So Param, Harish's son, he resents his father for forcing him into the world of law. He wants to escape, he wants to run away from there. While Harish, the father, he finds it extremely difficult to understand his son's hatred for this profession. So listeners, what they have done is they have shown both the sides of the parent and the son, yet not trying to put either of them in that villainous frame.
No, that's a good point. Exactly. And the way they both of them act, their emotions speak so loud. And like you were saying, right, this Court Kacheri, this series, it has an underlying story, and that is about the father-son relationship or the rift, like you said. And I would say this overall series is just unlike Mamla Legal Hai because it's not funny, it's just emotional. And I would say sometimes borderline difficult to watch because of how strained the relationship is between the father and the son.
I agree. And listeners, see, the difference in this series, Court Kacheri, is that a lot of series you would always see father and son or parents and kids, their relationship is strained, but it is always a piece of the story. It's never connected to the... Exactly. Yeah. It's not an overall theme. Mamla Legal Hai, if you remember, I think that father-son episode and that moment was, for me, a bit of a force fit.
Yeah,
but in this series, it was natural.
Yeah, I think in Mamla Legal Hai, it was not really contributing to the story. And here, it was the story itself. Like here in Court Kacheri, you see this father-son relationship, and then, to make matters worse, there's a divorce case that lands on their table, and that even further, it deepens the rift. So eventually though, you will see by the end of the episode 5, it very sweetly brings the two together. And that's, I guess, what creates the mystery, right? Like, how does a father-son relationship that was so bad in the beginning so sweetly come together in the end? And I think that's really beautifully portrayed in this series.
100%. So overall, listeners, both the series, Mamla Legal Hai on Netflix and Court Kacheri on Sony Liv, they are the best in their genres, we must say.
And absolutely.
And they are a must binge watch.
I 100% agree. Like, both have the same courtroom drama. It's both legal world, but portrayed in a very, very different light. I would say personally, like, if you're looking for something that's very light, sort of sometimes even senseless and just funny, I would definitely pick Mamla Legal Hai. It leaves you laughing, and it also, I guess, makes you take a step back and actually wonder and reflect on the realities of our system. But without being condescending, without being insulting. Just very simple.
Nandini, you may have reflected or wondered. For me, it was natural.
I know, you were like, this is true, it happens. And I'm like, what?
But listeners, if satire is not your go-to genre, you want something funny, but with a deeper message, a very homey thing, emotions, relationship, then I would recommend you watch Court Kacheri.
You can understand why I liked Court Kacheri just a little bit more, because I'm very much a person who just likes a nice, heavy story that comes to a very nice end. And I would say, just like us, a lot of the other viewers online have praised both the series. I would say they've praised Mamla Legal Hai even more, which is understandable because it's on Netflix, it's a much larger series, better cast. But Court Kacheri, I would say, is equally worthy of your time. So I would definitely say that it's a hidden treasure.
100%.
So that was our review of the popular Mamla Legal Hai and the lesser known but equally amazing Court Kacheri.
So for the next week, listeners, I am going to be reviewing my favorite genre, political true crime drama. I, like Nandini, wanted to convince her to watch this. Honestly, I tried to force. I miserably failed.
I was like, yeah, we'll watch it. Let's keep it in mind. We'll watch it. Little did I know, Friday, and she was like, I've watched it.
I did that. And so, let us do this. In the next review, I will try to convince her to watch this. Plus, I will convince you to watch this.
Ooh, I wanted to say that. Guys, next week we're changing our format. So, I will become a fellow listener like you. And just like we do it every week with you, she has to convince me and you to watch it. And I swear, I will ask a tough set of questions, I will say.
Okay, Nandini, bring it on.